And welcome back to another Paws Aquariums video. In this video I'm going to show you how to set up a simple CO2 system and all the bits and pieces you need. If you've ever wanted to grow carpeting plants, CO2 is going to make a huge difference. I'm using all Dymax bits and pieces. Doesn't really matter what brand you use, the information is still going to work for pretty much every brand out there. So we're going to start with a CO2 cylinder, which is this big thing here. We're using a 2-litre CO2 bottle. The bigger the tank, the bigger the bottle needs to be. A 2-litre CO2 bottle is going to last about a 4-foot tank or a 120 centimetre tank for a good few months, up to 6 months depending on how much CO2 you regulate, which comes to our regulator. This is a CO2 regulator. This screws into the bottle. This is the main expensive bit that you're going to need. All it does is it tells you how much CO2 you've got in your bottle, and then it tells you how much pressure you've got going to your tank. This one comes with a solenoid, which is this little black box here. A solenoid just means it's an on-off electronic switch. So it's got a cord that plugs into the mains. When it's turned on, you've got CO2 going from the bottle through your line. When it's turned off, it will just turn it off. Plants only use CO2 up in the light, so you'll have a timer with this and your light set up at the same time. So when your light comes on, your CO2 comes on. When your light goes off, your CO2 goes off. That is super important. If you don't have a solenoid valve, you can buy the solenoid part separate than the regulator, and you can just have that in line. So that one just comes with the solenoid and a bubble counter. So what the bubble counter is, it counts bubbles. That there is a diffuser. A diffuser is just a pressurized air stone for CO2. So all it is a little ceramic disc here, and the pressure of the CO2 going through creates super fine micro bubbles. More surface area on the micro bubbles, because there's a lot more of them, more CO2 is released into the water. So that's why there is a different type of air stone for CO2 than your normal air pumps and stuff like that. You will need airline tubing. There is a lot of different types of tubing. There is proper CO2 tubing and your normal airline tubing. The difference with your normal airline tubing and your CO2 tubing is the CO2 tubing is a lot denser. Because it's got a lot of pressure, your normal airline tubing is going to release a lot of the CO2 before it goes to your tank. Still going to work, but not as well as your CO2 tubing. You're going to need a check valve. Check valves just mean that the air only goes through one way, or the CO2, and it won't go back the other way. So this is super important to stop water siphoning back to your regulator when you have it turned off. CO2 checker, you have a solution that goes into the little checker. Some of them come with the regulator, some don't, but that is why we've got both of those. So that is the basics of what you need. Now we're going to set them up on our tank. And we have our setup underneath our aquarium. This is roughly what it should look like. You have your solenoid and your regulator screwed into your bottle. Once you get your bottle filled, it's important to note that you want it at room temperature. When you do get it back from the guys that fill it up, it's usually frozen, so it's going to be super cold. So don't screw your regulator onto the bottle until it's room temperature. So give it a good day or so to heat back up to room temperature. Once you've screwed it onto that, Dymax bottles come with a cool little tool that you can actually wrench the whole thing on. You don't want it super tight. The pressure of the bottle is going to keep it in place as well, but you just don't want to hear any gas seeping out of it, and you don't want to break the little grommet-y thing inside as well. So tighten it, but not too tight. Our solenoid is plugged into the power, which means that when it's on, you're going to get your flow going through. Our two little valves are telling us we have a lot of gas in the bottle and we have good pressure. That pressure is just what's going to go through the line when we turn this little nib on in a second. We have our line going from our bubble counter. We have that filled with water. Super easy to do. All you have to do is screw that little top bit off, fill them with water, screw it back in place. Our line will go up through the hole in our cabinet to our tank, all the way up to here. That is our one-way valve. You want that as close as you can to the tank, because when you have the CO2 turned off, water is going to siphon back through your ceramic disc all the way down. So the least amount of water you've got there, the easier it is for the pressure once it comes back on to push it through the disc. We have our disc, which has been soaking for about 48 hours. We have our CO2 indicator about 10-12 centimeters under the water, easily filled up with, I think it's 5 drops of your indicator solution and about 2 mils of water. So long as that little round ball thing is half full, that is going to tell you when you have too much CO2 in your tank. It is going to change color to a lovely yellow color because the CO2 will alter the pH of your water. And if it goes a blue color, that means you don't have enough CO2. So ideally you want it the green color that it is now. Now, all we have to do is turn this little knob on here gently. Whoop, that was too fast. And you roughly want about 1 bubble per second, roughly going up there. This is going to take a while for this to build up pressure. And you're not going to notice any CO2 coming out of this for about 20 minutes, half an hour or so. Go do something for 10 minutes, come back and check it, which is what we're going to do. We're going to bugger off now, come back in 20 minutes. And that is the perfect amount of CO2 bubbles coming up there. The spray bar is just pushing it around gently, so you're getting a lot of saturation with the CO2 in there. We're doing about 2 bubbles per second at the moment. So this is probably about a day later than what you just saw. Been a little bit busy. We have planted a little carpet of Monte Carlo, so just a small carpeting plant down the bottom. It's probably going to take about 2 or 3 weeks in this setup with this amount of CO2 to fully carpet the whole bottom. But there you go. If you've got any questions about setting up this or anything I've missed, just comment down below. I know I've probably missed a fair few things, so just comment away and I will get back to you in the comments. Thank you very, very much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.